This conversation takes place within the context of the publication of the Compilation of Music of Cape Verdean Composers, a project promoted by the Melody Music Preparatory School. It gains special significance as we celebrate 50 years of independence in Cape Verde. Over these 5 decades, music has remained one of the strongest expressions of Cape Verdean identity. This project seeks not only to document and preserve musical works, but also to encourage a new direction in Cape Verdean music, promoting formal musical training, written documentation, and a deeper engagement with music diversity in worship and education. It is in this spirit of reflection, celebration, and vision for the future that we welcome Dr. Lau to share his perspective. Dr. Lau, thank you for joining us. How do you define music diversity, and why do you believe it is important in music education today?
Yes, music diversity to me, I think, is giving value to all forms of music and music from all different cultures and different periods of time. I think it's a wonderful part of education when you think about how do we teach music. Traditionally, the kind of training that I've had personally, and I think a lot of the training that happens in the United States is very much slanted towards Western music, and that's fine. But I think as we've learned more and more about the world, as the world's become more global, I think there has been an increasing appreciation for music of all forms, and it's very critical. I think in terms of our understanding of each other as people, to have both appreciation, but even more than that, knowledge of a diverse range of musical styles, musical instruments, styles of singing, music for different purposes, music for praise, for worship, music for mourning, music just to enjoy music sometimes. So yes, I think it's critically important, and I think the diversity aspect is something that's relatively new in terms of how we train our singers here in the United States. And I'm delighted that it's something that is becoming of greater importance.
In practical terms, how does Washington Adventist University promote and support music diversity within its music programs?
Yes, thank you for that question. When I became chair of music here at Washington Adventist University almost 9 years ago, we had a very much, I think, Western classical music orientation. And like I said, that's very much the traditional way that I think music had been taught in the United States. But when I became chair, I was very determined to expand upon what we teach here. Many reasons for this, not the least of which is the wonderful diversity of students that we have at the university. So it's one thing to say, let's be more diverse. Let's add value to music of all cultures. But then it's another thing to work it into the curriculum. So that was one of the things that I was determined to do. So we managed to revamp 2 very critical parts of our music training here at WAU. One was in the music theory sequence, and then the other was in the music history sequence. So prior to these changes, music history had been taught more along the lines of chronology. It would begin with a lot of the music of the early Christian church and extend through the periods of antiquity, medieval Renaissance, Baroque, classical, romantic, and modern. And we still do teach that, but we have added 2 semesters to our musical history sequence that focus in different ways. So Music History 1 now is Music History 1, music of global culture. Some classes, some schools call that class World Music, and that would be an appropriate title. Our Music History 2 then would be the Western Music section, where we do go through the history of Western music. So that's Music History 2, music of Western culture. And the Music History 3, we now subtitle that music of contemporary culture. And so what that allows us to do, I think, is give great value to many of the musical trends and forms and genres that have appeared, say, in the last 100 years. And so it's still global in nature, but it also, I think, gives value to music that maybe falls outside of what we would think of as the traditional classical music canon. So those are two ways that I think that we have, given value to educating in a diverse manner.
From your perspective, how can initiatives such as publishing and documenting music from underrepresented communities contribute to greater diversity in worship and music education?
Well, I think the publishing aspect is very critical here. And before I go on, I just want to add that, when we talk about diversity also of music, I think it's important to note that this includes, female composers, as well as male composers of color. Basically, anybody who wants to be creative about what they're putting to music. And so, the way that this music gets preserved is traditionally done through the publishing of music. That's one way to do it. Now, the ability to also record music is another way to preserve it. In early times, much of the music that survived, before there were reliable notation means and no way to sort of record it on somebody's phone, for example, was through an oral tradition. In other words, you taught your community songs and you hope that your community would then teach the same songs to the next generation. The next generation would pass it along. That can work great, but in the global society that we are in here in 2026, the ability to put something down onto paper, to notate it, and to publish it is really a much better way to sort of preserve it. So not only does it preserve it, but it gets it out into the public. It gets it to places that maybe have not even heard this yet. And if you see it on paper, you have a chance to at least come very close to replicating what the composer had in mind. So absolutely, composers that are underserved, communities that are underserved, the ability to preserve this music through publishing, through recordings is vitally important.
How are students encouraged to explore different musical traditions, cultures, and styles during their studies at Washington Adventist University?
Yeah, I think one of the goals that we have here at WAU, of course, is to encourage the kind of creativity that will be a benefit to society. When we think about what higher education is for, it's just that. We want our graduates to be educated in such a way that they can pursue things that are of interest to them, that are of interest to their communities, and that have great value. I think especially when projects and initiatives that grow out of somehow the education that we provided here really are unique and that have tremendous benefit beyond stuff that's already been done, stuff that's new, stuff that's creative. That is exciting. There's really no greater compliment, I think, in terms of what a graduate of Washington Adventist University can do than to undertake a very creative project that has great meaning that hasn't been done before. So yes, my hope, of course, is that all of our students, bring something very unique to their lives as soon as they graduate from the university.
In your opinion, how can projects like the compilation of music of Cape Verdean composers influence the academic formation and global recognition of emerging musicians?
So this project is amazing to me. I couldn't be more excited hearing about it. I couldn't be prouder that a Washington Adventist University graduate, has taken her skills and, her training and found this project, which I think is very meaningful on a personal level to her. But you know what? The world needs this project. The more we know about each other as human beings, I think the better we are. The better we are as people. There's something very unique about this project. I think there are aspects to it that have never been done before. And so, like I said, I couldn't be prouder of the project. I think, to be able to somehow trace what we have done here at WAU to the origins, to the inspiration for this project. It is a great compliment to us as well. Many congratulations, and I can't wait to see what this project and what this initiative entails.
What message would you like to share with parents, young people, and everyone listening to this conversation about the value of music education and diversity in today's world?
Well, look, I think there's just great value in music. Obviously, I've made my profession. This is my passion. I think society is better because of the arts. I think music is able to say things that perhaps words can't say. I think the commonalities that are discovered through a wide diversity of music are important. I mean, as people, the more we know about each other, the better we're going to get along. And I think the arts can do that in very special ways. So what we do here at Washington Adventist University, I think is hopefully to be able to help our students, find their callings in life, find their vocations. And I think the study of music can lead to so many pathways. Some in music, some in the arts, and some outside of it. Regardless of where a person goes, I do think the study of music has added great value and given many, many pathways for success for the students. So with regards to this project, I think it's the perfect example of what a really solid education and an appreciation for the strength that lies in diversity can inspire. So I'm very excited about this, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk about it.